Recording to the cloud this time. So good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to start my share. Yeah, well, you know, I'm not the world's fastest this morning, so slideshow from the beginning. There we go. So good morning, everybody. Here we are again. Bright, shiny faces, all in our places. David, Mark Raymond, would you lead us in the pledge, please? He must have,
It's
He's
MIA.
muted, probably.
He's printing off the words.
yeah,
Yeah, empty chair.
yeah, empty chair. Okay, see, when I have my
Good
share
one,
screen
Terry.
up, I can't see everybody. I only see a few people over on
You
the
need a
right.
second monitor.
So,
We woke
hand
up
over your
without water
heart.
this morning.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
flag
of the United
of
States.
the United States of America,
And
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Thank you. Judy, do you have some words of wisdom for us this morning, other than a diversion?
Well, I don't, but these are from Rod McCauley, who was on tap this morning and couldn't be here. He sent this to me, and I'd like to read what he had chosen. This is an excerpt from Zora Neale Hurston's classic novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God. Newly widowed and saddled with running the general store, Janie reflects on her situation. She had wanted to walk where people could see her and glean it around, but she had been set in the marketplace to sell, been set for still bait. When God had made the man, he made him out of stuff that sung all the time and glittered all over. Then after that, some angels got jealous and chopped him into millions of pieces, but still he glittered and hummed. So they beat him down to nothing but sparks, but each little spark had a shine and a song. So they covered each one over with mud, and the lonesomeness in the sparks made them hunt for mud. But the mud is deaf and dumb. Like all the other tumbling mud balls, Janie had tried to show her shine.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you, Rod. Thank you, Judy. So wave to your Zooming friends. Good morning, all. Whoops. Joe.
Yes, Barbara. So
There
this
you
is
are, once again with hair. Now, with COVID, those are notes coming out, so we just won't go there. I should have put a mask on you, but
yeah, that's okay. I'm singing along. Look at it that way.
yeah.
So you know what? This is September 2nd, and I think if I'm not mistaken, 3 years ago we were at Ives Park doing the grand finale Cajun Festival. Is that right?
It is. Facebook told me so.
Yeah, Facebook told me so. Yeah, there's some pictures that showed up on my time hop of various folks pouring beer at that infamous beer tent. So in deference to that, I thought we would do a little When the Saints Go Marching In this morning. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Now when the saints go marching in, when the saints go marching in, yes, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in. Now when the saints go marching by, when the saints go marching by, oh, I want to be in the number. When the saints go marching by, oh, when the saints
Oh, when the saints
marching in.
go marching in.
When the saints go
Go
marching
marching in.
in. Oh, I want
Wanna
to be in the number. When the saints go marching in.
Yay. The Motley Crew does it again. So do we have any cyber Rotarians with us? Or cyber guests? Nope. So Michael Cook and I were talking. We've been doing the Zoom quickie tutorials, and we were wondering, what do we want to do from here with Zoom? One of the things we can do is use breakout rooms, which would be before the meeting. And that would be people get together in little small groups. Do we want to continue the quickie tutorials? Would anybody be interested in doing a Zoom workshop so that just as a small standalone meeting to go over getting more proficient at Zoom? Because let's face it, it's our indefinite future. So we may as well all learn how to use it as best we can. So what do you think?
I'd be interested in a workshop.
You want to do
Yeah,
a
me too.
workshop?
Mhm.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think so.
And then
Okay.
record it so
I
if those that can't be there could look at it afterwards.
Right, right.
I'd be interested in a quickie.
Linda, go on.
All
mute.
right.
So, okay, so that sounds like we want to do a workshop. So Michael Cook,
Yes.
we shall set something up. Does anybody have a preference for a time of day?
Well, evening's always better for me, but if I have advance notice, I can log
Right.
out early.
How about after this meeting?
Oh,
So we don't have to, we can just do a quickie after the meeting.
Okay, well, maybe we'll do it then next week, Michael.
That sounds good.
Okay, so next week after the meeting, we will just hold a little Zoom workshop and bring all your questions. You know, one of the things that I notice, because I get an email when somebody logs into the meeting early before I've logged in, and I've noticed there are people who log into meetings, and I'm sure you're going in there just so you can fiddle around. So perfect, great, absolutely. So let's just consider this another one of those things where you can go in and fiddle around and get a little bit more information from Michael. So perfect, we'll do that.
Can you tell us what a breakout room, or I forgot what they're called already?
Yeah, they're called a breakout room.
Oh, breakout room. What's that all about?
Well, we'll talk about that at the workshop, if that's okay.
Oh.
It's something the Noon Club is doing. It's where you can kind of come in, log in, and then you can go into small groups of 6 or 7 people for a little bit. Anyway, so next week after the meeting, we'll do that. Perfect. Whoops, wrong direction. Boink. Now I'm going to mute everybody. Now, you're all going to be, I did it. Okay. See, I'm still learning Zoom. It takes me a while. So be sure and unmute yourself. So Chris Brocate, you had a birthday yesterday.
Yes, I did.
And how did you celebrate your birthday?
Well, God, there's not a lot of ways to celebrate your birthday these days, but you can't go out and do anything. So actually I worked half day and I just spent the other half day at home. So I plan on doing a little celebrating this weekend with some friends out on the river.
Good. Nice place to celebrate, isn't it?
It's going to be hot, so it'll be a good time to get back on the river.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good. Happy birthday, and
All right.
hope you have many more. No anniversaries this week. No Rotary. What a boring week. No anniversaries, no partner birthdays, no Rotary anniversaries. But we do have things coming up. Next week, it's on Tuesday instead of Monday because of Labor Day. We have community services. Then we have the district governor board meeting. Now this will be on Tuesday, the 15th. It will be at 6. And the information to log into all of these meetings is in the club's website in the member only section. So anybody who wants to attend these meetings, there's your Zoom information and you can just click in and log on. World Cleanup Day, Zone Institute. Membership will be having a meeting. Haven't quite nailed down that date yet. They were going to do it on the 15th, and well, we have a district governor and our board meeting that day. So anytime your committees are having a meeting, let me know and let's get that Zoom information in the members only section of the website. Rotary has a theme every month. So September is Basic Education and Literacy Month. And I think it's completely appropriate because our district grant this year, Michael McLaughlin, is Michael with us this morning?
Yep. Yes.
There you are, Michael, because our district grant this year can be considered part of basic education literacy. So Michael, quick little 1-minute synopsis of what we're doing.
Well, we are supplying a lot of needed materials to the local schools. We're working with the special ed department and providing them with some Chromebooks, touchscreen Chromebooks. We're providing them with materials so that they can make PPE gowns around that they can wear around the students. We're giving them some plastic barriers that they can use. We're buying some tents for 2 of the other schools. And we are buying some televisions, that big screens that will be used in the after-school daycare programs. So we're working with 4 or 5 of the schools. They're very excited to get the stuff that they desperately need to allow this kind of education that we're presently doing.
Perfect. And we're doing this in conjunction with the other club. We're doing a multi-club district grant. So it's the project itself is a little over $8,000. So yay, thank you. And this popped up this morning, but I thought it was absolutely appropriate. Rotary Youth Exchange has opened up the world for generations because, and now something completely different, another share. Where is it? Okay, screen. Whoops, stop share. That's not it. I'll get it. I'll get it. Okay, it's not wanting to do what I want it to do. So let's do this. Here we go.
Jim Goodenough, you're never supposed to turn your back to the ocean.
Hello from Thailand.
Can everybody see this?
I was an exchange student from Thailand to US.
No?
Not showing.
2006 to 2007.
Okay.
Michael Cook's doing a tutorial next week.
Be even slicker after that.
No? Okay, then. Now I've completely messed it up. So.
This is a new variation on technical considerations. Instead of with a screen at the meeting room, we have Zoom.
Now, can you see that?
Yes.
Perfect.
14 years.
Barely a year, eh?
The first reason is I want to improve my English. I want to speak English more confidently and more fluently. It was kind of hard for me from the first 3 months. Yeah, that long. Because as you guys know, I only speak Thai, English just a little bit. I just understand when people say it. And my listening skill is okay, but my speaking skill was terrible. I get nervous when I have to answer the question in English, to speak English, and maybe because I don't know much about English, I don't know how to express my feeling into English. It's kind of hard, but from 1 year that I was there, I had more courage. I'm not afraid to speak English. Even though my English is still bad, I'm still proud that I can speak English, understand English, and communicate in English. I think my life has changed a lot. It was another big change in my life. Just for example, after I got back from the USA, I also participated in another exchange student program, but I went there just only a short period, just only 1 month. I went to China and also Japan. I passed all the interview, I think because of my English, yes. My most memorable moment was when my host dad, David, he said that, hey, you got an accent. And I was like, oh my God, really? I was so excited and happy because I speak English with an accent. I never think that I will have an accent. Because when I'm on my first day in America, my accent was like, sounds like this. I don't know how to explain, but yeah, that was my happiest moment from the tiny little conversation that I had with my host dad. So that's a wrap. I hope everyone stay happy and healthy. Bye. ขอบคุณค่ะ
So thank you, David. Do you want to say a couple of words about?
Well, that was a surprise that was the best thing that ever happened to her. I remember the incident though. And what it was she's fond of saying, oh my God. And she said it like a Valley girl, like, oh my God. And that was her accent. So Jae now works in her family business. They supply batteries for vehicles. She's doing really well. She's an artist and a designer, and we stay in touch. Lovely to say. And if you're ever in Bangkok, that's where she is now. Look her up.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, for sending me the
You have the picture
video.
of A by the side of the pool.
How long ago, David, was she here? Because I don't remember her.
I think it was 2006.
Before me.
Okay, now we have the week in review, and quite frankly, it was a slow news week. But I did come across this new pin, Don't know how we get it, but I thought it was really kind of neat. Be positive, stay positive, not COVID positive. And Chris, the North Bay Spirit Award. Yay!
Thank you.
Quite an article. Tell us a little bit how this came about.
Oh boy. Well, I don't know how I got nominated, but I'm really proud of it. And I thought the article was one of the best articles because Meg McConaughey with the Press Democrat really captured everything and that I wanted to express and some of my feelings, and then got a great plug in for our local Rotary and Rotary International and Salvador's project. And so I just, yeah, it was really cool. I appreciate it and really proud of everything.
Yeah, it was a great article, really good article. So
yeah, and
thank you.
There's a little video that goes along with it. I don't know if anybody got to see that too, but there's a click. You can click on that YouTube. There's a little 2 or 3 minute video on that as well. And I just wanted to keep, if everybody could put on your calendar, the last Saturday is when we're going to be trying to organize cleanups. We're taking the 19th off this year. It's a religious holiday, so we don't want to interfere with that. But on the 26th, I would like to organize some Rotary action, either in Sebastopol or out here towards the river, maybe a couple of different places. And so if I'm not, try to get some more information to Barbara so that we can post that at the meeting. But if anybody just wants to call me to get the ball rolling and or sign up, I'd like to get, like I said, maybe a couple of places lined up to do some Rotary action and fly our flag on the 26th.
I need to update the calendar. I know. I just realized that. It's like, oops.
Maybe
Yeah.
Kathy can set up a sign up for that.
Yeah. Cleanup day.
That'd be awesome. If Kathy wants to call me, then maybe we can, I can identify a couple of locations and then we can have maybe two different groups with low numbers meeting and doing some cleanup. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And while I'm thinking about Rotary action, Michael McLaughlin, Michael?
Yes.
Is in the process of setting up a couple of sessions to help at the food bank. You want to talk about that real briefly?
Yeah, I've requested dates either Wednesdays or Fridays in September and October. We would go over from like 10 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and essentially would be sorting canned goods or vegetables or fruits or whatever they need us to do. I've talked to them, and everything they're doing is very socially distanced and masks, and so I think it's a reasonably safe way to get out and at least see each other from a distance and do a little bit of good. So I should have some dates in the next day or two, and we will set up a sign up for that also.
Great, thank you. Whoops. So is Kathy Rogers with us this morning? Like I said, it's slow news week, but Kathy was attacking the apples. So are there any other announcements?
Yes.
Yes, Jerry.
If you look at the Sebastopol Times and News,
oh yes,
they posted that they're all online now, no print version, but I sent in a press release about our project in Tanzania and with photos, and they put it up on the website yesterday, and it was briefly their lead article on their website. But it's still there. I haven't looked this morning, but I'm sure it's still there. So it came out really well. And I just encourage anybody, like Michael with our district grant, when that's done or in progress, to send a press release and some photos to the Sebastopol or West County, whatever, West County Times and News, and they will publish it, and it gives some really good exposure to Rotary. At the end of the article, I put a link to our website so people can get more information, and hopefully it'll generate. I put it up on Facebook, and I think it's been shared to our club's Facebook page as well. Anyway, it gets the word out there and lets the community know what great work we're doing.
Great, thank you. That was fabulous. Are there any happy bucks? Is anybody happy about anything this week? Yeah, it's kind of what I thought. Not the biggest week. It was kind of like, I know out here, the air quality is still rotten. So not a lot going on, not a lot to be happy about, but we do have a few extra minutes. Anybody have anything they want to share?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, thank you.
This morning, I just picked this up. It's looking at my phone here so I can tell you what it's about. It's Bob Rogers, our District 5130 Polio Plus Chair, is announced that the district is starting to, he says, drum roll please. Today we are announcing an exciting new district program, the Polio Plus Society. And it's going to work a lot like the Paul Harris Society, except instead of committing to $1,000 a year, you'll commit to sending $10 a month or $100 a year for Polio Plus, and you'll receive a special Polio Plus pin, and each $10 is matched by the Gates Foundation for $20. So it's like you're giving $30 a month. So that's really great for the entire year. So at the end of the year, you've given, you might say, $300 to Polio Plus to help wipe out polio. And we're almost there. So that's pretty exciting too. Anyway, we'll get the information out to the individual members, and maybe we can get this posted on our website as well. So
great.
Thanks.
Diana, can we do that just in one payment instead of every month?
You sure can. Yeah, this is, like I said, I just picked this up this morning. It came in my email and I thought, oh, great. Well, I have a few minutes to tell you about it.
Yeah, Michael?
Yeah, also, I received a note from Bob too. There's going to be a Rotary Polio Summit on Zoom on the September 3rd. So
tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay, yeah, from 5 to 6 p.m. I'll send the Zoom link to Jim, and he can put it on the website. They're going to have past RI president there and some of the trustees, and they're going to be talking about the plans for Afghanistan and Pakistan. Might be very interesting to sit in on.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, Michael. I'm going to mute now.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about? Well, we still have a few minutes. Is our program with us yet?
I'll just say something.
Okay.
Again.
Yes.
And thank you to all that have been sending checks into our post office box. I'm the keeper of the key this year, and it's wonderful to see some checks coming in for our club's foundation to help, fund the great things that we do. And so thank you to everybody that's been sending in checks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Charlie.
Well, I see Cynthia is here. Let's see.
I have an
Kelly's?
introduction, Charlie. I have an introduction for
Good,
Cynthia, if you'd like.
Okay,
Yes,
so I'm
please.
going to stop sharing. There we are. one participant. So go ahead.
Okay, well, Cynthia McReynolds, I invited her to speak to our club this morning as part of our anti-racism task force speaker series. In the past, I've been impressed with Cynthia's writing on this topic and thought she'd make a good contribution to our club's speaking series. So Cynthia is white and grew up in Texas, firmly insulated by privilege in the 1960s. Her high school flew only the Confederate flag until she was able to get a US flag presented to the school by the American Legion. In college, the Black Student Union occupied administration buildings, and later, Cynthia, as part of the university's admissions staff, worked to expand the enrollment of Black students. Now, for 35 years, Cynthia has practiced psychotherapy, specializing in couples. Her talk today will focus on what she's learned through her work about connection, conflict, and the brain that's helped her have a deeper response to the current protest movement. Please welcome Cynthia McReynolds.
Morning, Cynthia.
Hi, thanks, Michael. Thanks for the invitation. What a great group to look at through Zoom. What a pleasure. So you're right, Michael. In the 60s, when I grew up, civil rights was a very hot topic, especially in the South, in Texas. And when I went to a pretty liberal small college, the Black Student Union was active. My first meaningful boyfriend of 5 years was one of those Black activists. And I remember in 1970, 71, he would say to me, well, Cindy, when the revolution comes, I'll have to shoot you. And, you know, that speaks to the kind of profundity of the times, the simplicity of youth, and the intensity with which we were inspired and challenged by those times. So in those early days, I had a lot of self-satisfaction that I was not racist. And coming out of Texas, that binary, am I racist or am I not racist, was the critical question. It was a litmus test for moral stature. And so I felt very satisfied that I was on the right side of that. But now, as Michael said, decades later, after a long practice of psychotherapy, when this spring, when my 32-year-old daughter said to me, Mom, when they say Black Lives Matter, you can't say, well, yes, all lives matter, and feel like you sort of have a handle on it. And that began a pretty rapid unraveling for me as I brought in my psychotherapy learnings and took a fresh look at my own response to the current protest. So I wanted to share 3 points about that with you this morning. So the first one that I know from my work with myself, with individuals, with couples, and I apply it to the social fabric of our country, is that there is always a good reason for conflict and protest. So interestingly, in psychology, when we talk about infant psychology, and we talk about when the baby goes, wah, we're not saying, oh, what a bad baby. What we say is that baby is protesting. That baby is trying to solve a systemic problem. And so that concept of protest is always meaningful. There is always a good reason. And as a psychotherapist, my job is to go on a quest to find out what is the story that makes that protest meaningful. I do that in couples therapy, and I encourage myself and all of us to do that in terms of social protest. There is a good reason for protest, and it's not always apparent at the beginning. Protest is trying to make a system get more inclusive, more whole, more functional. That's what I find in marriages, and I think it's what we are struggling to find as a country. The second principle that I know applies is that in systems, groups, rigidity adds to stress. So rigidity can be overt and vicious, rigidity can be subtle and complacent. So what I realize is that my own sense of, am I a racist? Well, I'm not a racist. As nice as that is, it is also a kind of skin that encapsulates me, and it prevents me from learning further. Does that make some sense? It's my privilege to be self-satisfied has created a boundary around me. So now I remember Frank's words, which seemed, I couldn't understand them at the time. Why was I part of the problem? He would have to shoot me. Now I see it. I'm glad I wasn't shot. But now I understand that my complacency, my satisfaction with just answering, yes, I'm not racist, created part of the perpetuation of the system that Frank and his colleagues were protesting. So when we have a hard skin, the other side is going to knock on the door to get through to us. And if we keep our hard skin on of complacency or defensiveness, they're going to knock harder. And that's where protest escalates. Maybe some of you know this in your own personal lives. When you can't get through to somebody and you feel like you're banging your head on the wall, you bang harder. So that is a way to think about what is happening in protests at a social level. The third thing I want to say is that the most creative response is to tell a bigger story. What impedes development is to tell a small story. Most of us gerrymander our data. We gerrymander and think about the data that is favorable to our view of ourselves. We cannot say we understand a story until I can tell you your story in your terms in a way that makes sense to you, where you say, yeah, Cynthia, you got my story. A holistic story includes your understanding of yourself and my understanding of myself. And then we're drawing a really big circle around the whole group. It's become a personal practice to me. You know, some of you, maybe I know at some points in my life I've said, well, I'm not going to say any swear words for a month. For me, the practice right now is I am not going to say the phrase, I understand. These days, in my personal life and my social political life, I try to say instead, I'm not sure I understand. Let me see if I get your story the way you're telling it to me. And then I work to understand it to get a little more nuance. So I try to take my data set and I make it bigger, and I make it bigger, and I make it bigger. So the healthiest thing we can do in the systems that we are part of, whether it's Rotary or with your brother or with your child or in our political affiliations, is to remember that whatever's going wrong has a meaning, and the curious, learningful response is to try to find the meaning and to try to come with a curiosity rather than a rigidity, and to tell a bigger and bigger story. So maybe this will make sense to you. It's made deep sense to me. The perennial wisdom in the world from psychology and spiritual practice, from Dalai Lama said it this way. He said, how you treat yourself is how you treat each other, is how you treat the world. So I encourage myself to be active politically, but I encourage myself to bring these same practices into my close friendships as well. And I assume that I am making the world incrementally a safer, larger, more spacious place wherever I'm doing these practices. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, really what I want to say. I'm glad to talk more about it, but as I look at your faces, I think, oh my gosh, these people know so much about these things already. So if you have any questions, I'm open to them, but that's really what I want to say.
No questions? Unmute yourself and let's continue the discussion.
I have a question.
Yeah.
taking this, how do you deal now with a group setting? You know, not one-on-one, but you know, we're faced with people get together in groups, then you get a mob mentality. And how do you reach out to demob the mob to make some?
That's a great phrase. So of course, there's no sure answer. If there were, it wouldn't be humans, you know? But what I would apply to that is first to remember that belonging, a mob mentality is a kind of intoxication. It is gratifying to have simplistic belonging, like Frank's comment, when the revolution comes, I'll shoot you. It is so comforting to have a bright line, who's good, who's bad. So my early thing of I'm not a racist, I remember that people are finding comfort when they're in the sense of belonging in a mob. But the key from psychology is never to argue with rationality and think that that's going to reach the part of the brain that is active. Because the brain, if you think of it in several layers, the lowest level is survival. And when people are in mob mentality, they are inflamed and inspired, thinking they are fighting for survival. And so my approach, whether it's a family members having a quarrel or if I'm in a group where the things are going up in flames, is to reach toward what is it you have that has heart and meaning for you? What are you fighting for? What are you afraid of? And what are you longing to see? You can't always change things, but that's the way to go. To try to conflict and tell people they're mistaken is gonna pour gasoline on the fire. Does that make sense to what you're wondering about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how does one diffuse such a situation?
Well, similar is to draw a circle that includes everybody. Your meaning, you on the inflamed side, that's different than my side. If I stand in your shoes, what you're saying you care about, and most importantly, how you see me as an impediment. It is so powerful to join someone in seeing yourself critically. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That is an enormous gift, and the brain longs to be understood. If you have the power to understand someone's brain, they're going to soften. You can't guarantee it, but that is the biggest power tool in our repertoire, is to use our emotional imagination to genuinely look through someone else's eyes without trying to spin them to serve our story. And I apply that when I'm helping a couple work through an affair and come back to understanding rather than just total defensiveness about betrayal, or when I help families who have very deep fissures in them. And I am heartened when I hear politicians actually tell a complex story that looks through many people's eyes. And I'm discouraged when I hear people just tell a very narrow story that excludes many realities.
Any other questions?
Cindy, it's Marty Webb. Hi. You know, during this whole time we're having and the upset, you know, for example, I personally believe all lives matter, but that doesn't mean that I'm out in right field, like apparently that's come to me, because I think if you're Black, Hispanic, Asian, etc., all those lives matter, or you're a police officer. And all of a sudden that's become a racist term if you say all lives matter, which I think is interesting, that it's morphed into that. Can you kind of work through that?
I love that question, Marty. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly kind of my path too. So I think it's Barbara in blue who just asked the question before. So the path for me to work through that, Marty, is first to notice how I go, what do you mean? I'm a good person. All lives do matter. And to just know, oh, of course, I'm self-protective. That's one of my favorite phrases. Of course I am. And I settle myself down. And then I say, okay, let me walk across the circle, the figurative circle. And let me imagine what I'm saying out of my mouth is Black Lives Matter. Why would I say that? What is the thinking behind it for me that would make me say that? So what we see that I think is tragic is when people argue with each other, like I might have, and said, what the hell do you mean? All lives matter. But instead, to go over and hear, what does this party mean when they are saying Black Lives Matter? And I mean, Marty, you probably have a good idea of what people mean when they say that. Do you know what someone is saying himself or herself? What would you say?
Well, I think it started, I'm hoping that it started off to say everyone's lives matter, not just one particular group. It's morphed into you're a racist if you say all lives matter, which concerns me a little bit. And, you know, God knows, I have a hard time processing after all the stuff that's gone on before. Recently, and the trouble that someone could get shot in the back 7 times like that. It amazes me, and it amazes me, and even with my law enforcement friends that kind of shake their head and go, you know, haven't we seen enough of this that, you know, we should handle this in a different way? And there were other officers there, were like 3 officers there. And that's one of the things that I have trouble understanding.
Well, I mean, what you're saying makes sense. I mean, you have trouble understanding how someone could shoot someone in the back 7 times, and you have trouble understanding why anyone would be saying some lives matter more than other lives. Is that, am I getting
that may be a dichotomy.
Yeah. Well, so what I've understood, and maybe each of us has come to a different thing, I think why someone would say Black Lives Matter is they're trying to correct something where it looks like time and again, a Black life matters less. So I think if we say to that person, do you mean your life matters more than other lives? Or do you mean your life has been, it looks like your life matters less? And if we finally get to what they actually mean and then build from there, it's different. If we take our assumption of what they mean, then people just get inflamed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's that extra step of let me really stand in your shoes and spread the story bigger.
But I'm also worried about the learning curve of we had all these other things before, and now we have this happen, and the George Floyd thing was bad enough, but then now to add this on top of it, it just amazes me the thinking process of somebody. And I certainly don't compare it to someone shooting golf and missing a putt, a 3-foot putt, like the president said. I mean, you know, it just amazes to me that they're not more of a learning curve with the law enforcement agencies.
Well, see, and I don't know for you, Marty, or other people here, but for me, the harder challenge these days is to make my circle of understanding try to include an officer who would shoot someone 7 times in the back, and to try to presume somewhere inside that man is not getting up in the morning saying, let me behave in a heinous manner, but he's got something that has heart for him, something he cares for, something he's aspiring to. And it is hard to find what is repellent to me and try to draw the boundary of my understanding large enough that I include him as well. Because Marty, and maybe others feel this way too, the time frame of understanding and how slow the learning curve is. Come sit in my psychotherapy office with me for a day, or I'll come sit where you sit. And being human is a really hard project, isn't it? Thank you for bringing that up. It's really important.
I have a question. Thank you so much for this talk. If you were the person with a fist saying Black Lives Matter, and this may be an obvious or silly question, but what would that person be saying to us? Can you encapsulate their voice in a few sentences or a paragraph? What's the theme so that we really get it? Why do Black Lives Matter? Why do they make these protests? And why do they paint those letters across our town square?
Thank you for the crazy question, because let me salt it with humility, because everyone's going to have a different voice, and I'll give you my inadequate attempt. Okay, Jim? So I think what people are saying is, I, as a Black person, have grown up in a world where my life does not matter as much. The social contract of laws and due process and human respect applies to me until it is inconveniencing or somehow brings disadvantage to those of a higher rank. And I no longer, as a Black person, want to keep teaching you this. I no longer want to beg or persuade or have to sell or raise my hand to bring awareness to this. I want you who are on the inside of a box or a fort of privilege to come out and look through my eyes and look through a 400-year history of the country and understand that it's insidiously built on a caste system where some lives are less valuable than others. So I think to say a radical, short, 3-word statement is to try to shake the system to get us who are ensconced in privilege, of skin privilege, to walk outside and look at it. And so that's a beginning sense of it, is to say that from our angle, from your angle, you white people, it looks like all lives matter. You can think that till the day you die. From my angle, where my children seem at risk when they drive to the 7-Eleven, I want you to know that it feels as if our lives matter less. I think that's part of the core statement. What do you think, Jim?
I think that it's quite a big package. And
very big package.
I appreciate your answer. And I'm not sure how I can get my arms around it, because I'm not a Black person and I'm in that bubble of privilege. And I don't know if I should go join one of these marches or to understand it better, or read a book, or get more familiar with where they're coming from.
Jim,
well, personally,
let me see if I can add something.
Okay, and I want to come back to you, Jim, in a sec. Go ahead.
It may help to think about the statement Black Lives Matter as a rejoinder. It's an answer from a Black community that is feels, rightly so, that they have been valued less for centuries. And the events of a shooting are answered by saying, wait, we matter too. It's not fair what happened to my brother. If it's a question of discrimination in some other aspect of life, when you say Black Lives Matter, it's like saying Black Lives Matter too. It's a rejoinder to the unfairness that the Black experience has been overwhelmingly characterized in the 250 years of our country. And to me, it makes perfect sense for somebody to stand up and say, Black Lives Matter, because we have been so badly treated for so long. I just want to reinforce the fact that my life, my Black life, matters too. So it's not like Black people saying we matter more than others. It's saying we matter too. We're part of this community. Please respect us. And every time there's an incident, like a shooting from a law enforcement officer, it culminates in this welling up of, damn it, we matter. Stop that. So it's a rejoinder to action by others. It's not an initiated statement.
Yeah, and that is the protest trying to get the system to be more inclusive, and the organic thing, the primitive level of our brain wants to do is polarize further and protect our turf. And that's natural. Nobody's a bad guy for doing that. That is natural in the brain. The counterintuitive, literally disarming thing to do is walk toward the other position and include it. That takes the heat out, not automatically, but ultimately that will bend the arc of conflict, because there's a meaning, like you're saying, Nick. It is part of a long conversation. If we start the conversation with someone painting it into our town square, what the hell? Why is this painted here? If we start the conversation there, it can feel outrageous and intrusive. If we draw a bigger circle and start the conversation 3 months ago, or 100 years ago, or 400 years ago, the conversation feels different. It's where we gerrymander the data, the story.
I think that's a good description of it.
Now, I want to go back and say one thing. I know we're going to stop. You asked Nick, is that Jim? It helped me. I am actively learning and trying to be curious about this. And there's spectacular work by so many people now, but Isabel Wilkerson wrote a book called Caste.
Yeah.
And there's an article by her, I think maybe in the New York Times, maybe you know, Michael. But she used this metaphor, which is so helpful. She said, in America, we have woken up in a marvelous house that we've bought. We have moved into this great house. We love it. But it turns out the foundation has a crack and the roof needs repair because it's about to break through. The sheetrock is sagging with water. Now, if we bicker about who built it wrong, the roof's going to cave in and the foundation may break. But we could just say, this is the house we've got. Let's try to build it. And people of the lowest caste are usually the ones the house is built on top of. That's the foundation, that's the mud sill. And we need to pay attention to the very basics of the house and try to make the whole house sound. So that helps me get out of the personalized thing of, wait a minute, I'm not racist. No, I don't have to debate that anymore. I have to try to make America be a little more of what we intended it to be. It helps my natural flare up when I feel accosted and misunderstood by some slogan. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much.
It's so nice to talk to a group of people who will actually say where they're struggling and what the questions are. Wow, Michael, no wonder you keep getting up early to join this group of people.
That's right. That's right. We'll have to have you come back and do this again. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cynthia.
Cynthia,
great questions.
I have a quick question. Thank you very, very much.
Real quick, Michael.
Are there any marimba concerts coming up soon?
Oh, that's so nice. Alas, no marimba anymore.
No.
It was then, it was gone, yes. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, back to sharing. Whoops, no, this one. There we are. So, Way Clean joke by Michael.
Yeah,
Camel
so
joke.
Nick and I were playing golf the other day over at Windsor. And I was really, really having a bad day. And so we're kind of walking along the 17th hole there, and there's a big pond along the side. And I was just really despondent about my golf game. And I said, you know, Nick, I just think I'm going to do myself in, and I'm going to jump in the pond and just drown myself. And he turned to me and he said, I don't think you can keep your head down that long.
Good golf joke.
Thank you. So, Joe. Oh, wait. There we go. Number 12. Michael, do you have a number 12?
Yeah, number 12 is Marty Webb.
Yay!
Yay.
Victory at last.
The rich get richer.
The rich
Okay,
get
I
richer.
will take care of your ticket and let you know if you're a big winner or not.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so Joe. Is Joe gone?
Yes, here I am.
Here you are.
Yeah. What do you think? Should we go?
Yep.
Happy day.
Trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling on the bed. Happy trails to you till we meet again.
Hi, guys.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome. See y'all next week or earlier. There we go. Jim Gilliam, is he going to sign off or not? Bye, Linda.
Bye. Hey, Barbara, do we want to revisit that meeting we had to cancel for Michael's letter?
Yes, we do.
I was thinking if we.
Wait a second. I'm stopping recording. There we go.